Yeah, this puzzle comes with a warning. This is exhausting by myself, Bremster, and Sotek. And this puzzle has been flagged as both a little bit annoying and hard. This is a harder puzzle than I normally release on the channel. Though if you go by the duration of the video, you may not see that because this is probably going to come out at a mid-length explanation. I don't know, I haven't tried to explain it yet. So there's a story behind this puzzle, and I hope I don't annoy Sotek too much while I give it. Because this was a puzzle that was created. I came up with the idea for the break-in for this puzzle, and I was very happy with it. I wanted to make a hard fog puzzle. And I was playing around with some different ideas and I discovered something, and I did what often I did when I discover something I don't understand. I reached out to Sotek, and between the two of us, we were able to figure out what was going on. Sotek was able to improve what I had come up with and make a lot of recommendations, and we were able to turn this into what I feel is a very good puzzle. We then got it tested, and the tester feedbacks came through, and that all worked well. And then it all worked really well. The testers said this is a 5 out of 5 difficulty puzzle. We posted it to Logic Masters Germany. It was solved by a bunch of people and it got rated really well. I should say that I'm going to put a bookmark below near the puzzle link and everything where you can jump past my story of why this puzzle is bringing me trepidation to try and solve, as well as this. This is a puzzle I don't like as much as I should, even though I think it's a very good puzzle, because of what happened. I seem to have a thing with controversial puzzles. So we published it to Logic Masters Germany. It got solved, I think, 16 times, and it was rated at 98%. And we thought, great, because this was a puzzle when we were making it. We thought this is going to be a really good submission to Cracking the Cryptic. Now, I don't think I'm ever going to submit this to Cracking the Cryptic because of what happened next. A big name setter solved the puzzle and made a comment that was along the lines of, this puzzle needs guesswork. I had to make an assumption in order to solve this puzzle, and basically you needed to make a guess at a certain point in order to solve the puzzle. Now, we tested this and we knew that one of the deductions, the bit where, because at the same time as that comment was made, the person reached out to us via Discord, or made a couple of posts on Discord, and posting, this is where you had to make an assumption, you had to make a guess. And they just missed a deduction. They had missed a very tricky deduction in this puzzle. This is a hard puzzle. But it didn't stop the fact that without the puzzle getting much more votes on much more solves on Logic Masters Germany, the rating of the puzzle plummeted. It went down to the low 80s. And there was nothing we could do about that. People changed their vote based on that response. And it's just not true. The person missed something. But we now pretty much, I don't think we can submit this to Cracking the Cryptic, because in order to submit, they've made it very clear if a puzzle doesn't rate mid 90s or higher, they're not interested. And this puzzle tanked to the low 80s because someone missed a deduction and posted about it publicly. Didn't reach out and say, what have I missed or anything like that. Nope, they just turned around and said, this puzzle is broken. And that hurt. That really hurt, because we put a lot of work into this to try and make a good quality, hard, very hard fog puzzle. And there are some very hard deductions in this. So yeah, I have not looked at this one in several weeks because it just left a really sour taste in my mouth. But for me, yesterday was the SudokuCon live stream, which was the fundraising live stream. And I had a couple of people talk to me after the live stream and ask me about this puzzle. And I should do a solve of it and bring it out, because people have tried to solve it and they said they couldn't find the thing, and they were just wanting the comment about that on Logic Master Germany was deleted shortly after, but it's too late. The puzzle rating is so low that I think submitting it to Cracking the Cryptic would be pointless. Yeah, they've got, I don't have that sort of ballpark. I don't check a rating on my puzzle when I accept a submission, but they do. So I just don't know. I do not know what to do. Now, this puzzle has been rated easier on Logic Masters Germany than we thought it was. All of the testers said 5 out of 5, including some excellent solvers. It's been rated 4 out of 5 by Logic Masters Germany, which is still quite a hard puzzle. We'll see how it goes. Anyway, let's have a look at the rules of exhausting by Bremster and Sotek. And here's hoping that I can remember how to showcase my own puzzle, because as I said, this one is hard and I've not looked at it for a while. So, normal Sudoku rules apply. So in every box, in every row, and in every column, the digits 1 to 9 must be placed without repetition. Digits cannot repeat along the indicated diagonals. So there are diagonal markings in this puzzle, and you cannot repeat along those diagonals. So I've given information under the fog. There are the main diagonals. Digits cannot repeat along the main diagonals is indicated in the rules. Some of the grid is covered in fog, and placing digits on the fog will clear the fog from all adjacent cells. So there may be clues in here, and if you were to place a digit here, that would remove the fog from any cell touching the cell where you place a digit. And digits in cages must sum to the number in the top left corner of the cage. Digits may not repeat within cages. That's the rules of the puzzle. I'm going to restart the puzzle to restart my timer. Let's see if I can actually accurately demonstrate this for you. So let's give this a shot. Let's start with the 6 cage. The minimum 3 digits we could put into a 6 cage are 1, 2, and 3. Add those together, you get 6. With a 7 cage, we have to increase those minimum digits by 1. If we were to increase the 1 or the 2, we would end up with repeated digits, so we have to use 1, 2, 4. Down here, we also have to use 1, 2, 4, so those are forced. Now, in row 1, we have a 1, 2, 3, 4 triple. The 3 must appear in one of those two. The 4 must appear in one of those two. So this can't be the 3 and this can't be the 4. Now, in column 1, we have a 1, 2, 3, 4 triple, but the only place we can put the 3 is right there. So that becomes a 3. We know the 4 must be in one of those two, so that is not the 4. We can get rid of the corner pencil marks because that is just the way it works. Now, the next thing we want to look at is this 9 cage. And the question I like to ask at this point is, can this 9 cage not contain a 1? Because if it doesn't contain a 1, then it is 2, 3, 4. The minimum digits you can make without a 1 or 2, 3, 4, which sum to 9. So can this be 2, 3, 4? And the answer becomes no, because you can't put 3 on the diagonal because it's already there. But these are 1, 2, 3, 4 triples. So in row 9, this would have to be a 3, and in column 9, this would have to be a 3, and I've put 2 3s into the cage, and that doesn't work. So there must be a 1 in this cage. The next question becomes, can it be, so it's only got 2 options, 1, 2, 6 or 1, 3, 5. Now, if it was 1, 2, 6, we also run into a problem, because if this was 1, 2, 6, we'd have 1, 2, 6 in row 9, and that would be a 4. We would have 1, 2, 6 in column 9, and that would be a 4, and we'd put 2 4s onto the positive diagonal, which doesn't work. So it can't be 1, 2, 6. It has to be 1, 3, 5. Okay, so we've got 1, 3, 5 into this cage. This cannot be the 3 because of the 3 on the diagonal. And the next question becomes, can this be 1? So if this was a 1, and there's an empty rectangle logic here that people may be familiar with. But if this is a 1, what happens? Well, in this cage up here, which needs a 1, that would become a 1. And in this cage down here, that would become a 1. And now I can't put a 1 in the 6 cage, which means the puzzle is broken. So this can't be a 1, and it becomes a 5. So we end up with a 1, 3 pair. Now, we know because of that, on this diagonal, we can't put the 1 on the negative diagonal, and we can't put the 1 down here. So the 1 must be on in box 5 on the negative diagonal. But we just use logic here to say that we couldn't put 1 in the corner. So we can ask the same question here. If this is a 1, we'd have to put 1 there for the 6 cage, we'd have to put 1 there for the 9 cage, and we can't put the 1 in the 7 cage. So this is not a 1. We have the same up here. If this is a 1, this becomes a 1, this becomes a 1, and we can't put a 1 in the 7 cage. So this is not a 1, and we end up with a 2, 4 pair on that diagonal. Now, there's and we know once again the 4 is here and the 4 is here, but there's actually a little bit more than we can do before we kick this off. We now know that the 1 is off the diagonal here, and I'm going to do this first. 1 is off the diagonal here, 1 is off the diagonal here, so 1 must be on the diagonal in box 5 on the positive diagonal, as well as 1 being on box 5 on the negative diagonal, and that places 1 in the center of the grid. That was the break-in I basically came up with to start all this off. But it's not the end of the hard break-in. The hard step is about to start. This is now a 3 cage, so this becomes a 2. And there's a few things we can do now. So we now know, because 1 and 2 can't go in these cells, because we've effectively got an X-wing on 1 and 2s. Now, this is a hard puzzle. So if you don't understand X-wings and you don't understand why 1 and 2 have to go into these cells, basically, very quickly, and I'm only going to cover this once, if we were to put a 1 here, then this would become a 1, and we can't put a 1 in this cell. And the same is true here. 1 here would put 1 here, we can't put a 1 in this cage. So you can never put 1 here, and the same is true with 2. 2 here would put 2 here, and we can't put 2 in this cage. 1 and 2 need to be down here, and the same is going to be true for all of the digits I'm about to place. 1 and 2 can't be in those cells, so this becomes a 1-2 pair. 1 has to be in one of those 3 cells, but it can't be in the middle. 1 has to be in one of those 3 cells, but because of this one, it can't be in the middle. 1 has to be in one of those 3 cells, but because of the one that can't be in the middle. Now, 2 is also in one of those 3 cells because we've still got an X-wing on 2s, but it can't be in the bottom. And we get to that stage with pencil marks. Now the bit of the explanation that I'm terrified by, because this next bit is the bit where everyone gets stuck. Because where we hit a problem before, and where we were told it was wrong, is you needed to make a deduction based on these cages that have started to appear. I'm not even going to look at any of these cages at all. So you can see there's a cage here, there's a cage here, and there's a cage here. And the comment was basically, without making deductions about these cages with the information that had been provided and the rules were ambiguous and you had to sort of guess about the cages, you couldn't proceed. For the next deduction, I'm ignoring these cages. You don't need it. Okay, so what I do need is a drink. So, the thing we want to think about now, and a lot of people may have already started asking this question, is there is a relationship between these cells in the corner, these 16 cells in the corner, and these 16 cells surrounding box 5. Now, this is the Fist-O-Mafel ring. If you know this explanation, jump until you see the explanation over. So, how I know that the 16 cells in yellow are exactly the same digits as the 16 cells in blue. How do I know that? Well, let me prove it. So I'm going to start by highlighting, we know 4 sets of the digits 1 to 9. We know a column of a Sudoku is going to contain the digits 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So that is one of each of the digits 1 to 9. This is one of each of the digits 1 to 9. This is one of each of the digits 1 to 9, and this is one of each of the digits 1 to 9. Now, we don't know where those digits are, but we do know in the final grid, when it's fully solved, in blue, we're going to have 4 1s through 4 9s, 4 of each of the digits. I can do the same by highlighting 4 rows. If I highlight 4 rows, I know I'm going to end up with exactly 4 of each of the digits. So in yellow, I have exactly 4 of each of the digits. If I grab a digit, let's say it's a 1, now in this puzzle it can't be, but if I was to grab a digit and remove that from both of the same things, as I said, let's say it's a 1, I would end up with 3 1s, 4 2s, 4 3s, 4 4s, all the way through to 4 9s. But I've still got exactly the same in blue and yellow. So I can remove the any digit that exists in anything that's in both. If I remove it, they're still equal. And removing all of those means that what I have in yellow is exactly the same as what's in blue. Now, you may turn around and say, well, how is that helping? Now you need to think about the diagonals, because we know the diagonals each contain a complete, no repeats, and they're 9 digits long. So they must contain the digits 1 through 9. So we must, on the purple lines, get 2 of each digit, except for the 1, which is covered twice by the middle. But we must get 2 6s, 2 7s, 2 8s, and 2 9s. But we're very limited on where we can put that because we can get a maximum of 1, 6, 7, 8, and 9 into box 5. So we can account for a single 6, 7, 8, 9 by placing them into box 5. And there's probably a more elegant way of doing this. A lot of experienced solvers may know a better trick, but this is the way that I discovered this when SOTEC came and we were playing with it together. So we need to get at least 1, 6, 7, 8, 9 into these cells that are not in box 5. Otherwise, we're not going to have enough on the diagonals because the diagonals must contain 2 6s, 2 7s, 2 8s, and 2 9s. Now, I'm going to highlight these cells here in green. I'm going to highlight these cells here in purple. Okay. Now, if what we're worried about now is the green cells. Now, if we put one of the 6s, 7s, 8s, and 9s into the green cell, then we've just put it in green. We're perfectly fine. It's been put in green. We know that we've added a 6, a 7, an 8, or a 9 to green. If we put it in purple, which remember, these other blue cells aren't on the diagonals, and we can only place one of each on here. If we place the 6, 7, 8, 9 into purple, then by the fact that blue and yellow are the same, and we can't put a 6, 7, 8, 9 that we put into purple into any of these cells because they can't take 6, 7s, 8s, and 9s, we must therefore, in order to get it into yellow, put it into green. So because if we put it into green, it goes into green. If we put it into purple, it must be shifted into green by this blue-yellow relationship, the Fistermafel ring. So we know that those green cells must contain 6, 7, 8, and 9. But better than that, because of the diagonal rule and the fact that each of these cells sees each other, because this cell sees that one in the row, that one in the column, and that one on the diagonal. This one sees that one in the column, that one in the row, that one on the diagonal. And it's the same for all four. That becomes a 6, 7, 8, 9 quadruple. They must be 6, 7, 8, 9, and they must all be different. And that is a key important part of this puzzle and the thing that most people miss, because the next question is, where is 2 on the negative diagonal? Because I can't put 2 in any of those cells. I can't put 2 in any of those cells because I've already got 2 is off the diagonal in this box with the 1, 2 pair. 2 is off the diagonal in this box because of the 2 in the cage. So 2 has to be in one of these 3 cells, but that's a 5 and that's a 6, 7, 8, 9. That gives me a 2, if I'm in the right mode, right there. And let's go back into there and turn off the orange. And that is the break-in step that most people in this puzzle miss. Now, it doesn't get easier from here. Well, it does get a little easier. That's very hard. But that is the step that caused someone to turn around and say, this cage and this cage, I needed to make assumptions about them. I didn't use any of those cages for that deduction. Not required, wasn't needed. Yeah. Anyway, what that tells me is a 15 cage, if I was a 3-cell 15 cage, if I was to put a 1 into this cage, then the other cell would have to be a 12, and that's not going to work. So neither of those are 1, which means that becomes a 1, that becomes a 1, that will look up and make that a 1, and that will make that a 1, and I can put 4 1s straight into the grid. That becomes a 2, and that is not a 1. Yeah, that they just go straight in, and it all just works. Now, there is another really nice deduction you can make, which is, and kind of need to, if this digit here is a 2, then in this 6 cage, that will become a 2, and then this will become a 4. But making this a 2 will make this a 4, and I put 2 4s onto the diagonal. So that can't be a 2. And the same is true here. If this is a 2, this is a 4, but that would put a 2 here for the 6 cage, and that would become a 4, and I've got 2 4s on the diagonal. So that is not a 2. Now, 2 here is pointing across here. These 2s and this 2 are saying 2 is in one of those 2, but those 2s are now saying that is a 2. Similar here, 2 is pointing down here. And I don't think I get exactly the same effect. 2 is now, oh, yes, I do, because the 2 is pointing down here. 2 is not in those, 2 is not in those because of that one, and that 2 is taking 2 out of those 2 cells because of the cage. So digits cannot repeat in cage. So that becomes a 2, that is not a 2, that is a 2. And you get to this stage with all of the information that has been provided. The puzzle doesn't get too much easier now. Anyway, this becomes an 8. And now I have to remember. This is the bit I kind of remembered. So this was the bit of the puzzle where I sort of knew what was going on. And from now on in, I'm in a little bit of trouble. So this is a 15 cage. Now, it's not a 2-cell 15 cage, so it is definitely growing into this box. But the minimum I could make those 3 cells, because 1, 2, and 3 is gone, is 4, 5, 6, which sums to 15. So this has to be 4, 5, 6 summing to 15. This is not a 6, and this is 7, 8, 9. This 15 cage couldn't grow again. I would need a 1, 2, or a 3, and I don't have them. This 15 cage, I'm not using 1, 2, 4, and without using 1, 2, 4, I have to use a 3 because of the nature of a 3-cell 15 cage. If it's not 4, 5, 6, I need to have a low digit, a middle digit, and a high digit. Once I use a 3, I need 2 digits that sum to 12. I can't use 9, 3. I could use 8, 4. I could use 5, 7, but I can't use 8, 4 because the 4 is up here. So this becomes 3, 5, 7. That takes 7 out of there. The same is true down here. This is a 15 cage. The only option I've got that doesn't conflict with anything is 3, 5, 7. There's no 7 there. These are 6, 8, and 9. There is no 8 there. These are 6, 8, and 9. Okay, now... this 15 cage is also important. It doesn't have a 1 or a 2 in it, but it can't be 4, 5, 6 because that would break that cell. So this must also have a 3 in it. So it's either 3, 4, 8 or 3, 5, 7. But if it was 3, 5, 7, that would break that cell. So this becomes 3, 4, 8. There is no 4 there. There is no 8 there. There is no 8 there. And this becomes a 5. There's no 3 there. And this becomes a 5, 6, 7, 9 quadruple. So that's something I always found kind of fun. The 8 here looks up taking 8 out of there. Do I remember the logic for this puzzle? Not really. Okay, so this 15 cage is also kind of important. These 2 digits here must sum to 13. But I can't use 5, 8. So it's going to be 4, 9 or 6, 7. And the reason I can't use 5, 8 is if I was to put 5, 8 into those cells, then I would have 2 8s in blue. And where can I put 2 8s in yellow? The only places I could put 8s in yellow are here, and I'd have 2 8s in the same row. I've already proven I can't put 2 of 6, 7, 8, or 9 in yellow. That was one of the first deductions I made. So I can't put 2 8s. So this could never be 5, 8. This 5 takes 5 out of there, and that is a thing. Now, 5 is over here because I can't put 5 in any of those cells or in any of those cells. This 15 cage now can't be 2, 5, 8 because the other digits again have to sum to 13. So these are either 4, 9 or 6, 7. And trying to... Oh, now... where do I put 3 in this row? I can't put 3 in here because the 1, 3 down here. I can't put 3 in here. 3 is in one of those two, so there is no 3 here. Keep being in the wrong mode. 3 is in one of those two. Now we know 4 is in one of these two, and we know 3 is in one of these two. So this is 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9. It's not 8. So it's 5, 6, 7, or 9. But it can't be 5 because where is 5 in the top row? Because 5 is here and 5 is here. So again, I've got an X-wing on 5s. So 5 is up here and this can't be 5. So it's 6, 7, or 9. Now, there is... It's been a while. I'm trying to remember the trick. I think it's this cell because it can't be 1 or 2. It can be 3. Let's just put everything in. 4, 5, 6, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now it can't be 8 because I've already got the 8 on the ring. Now, I'm not 100% sure what was next. I do remember this being incredibly tricky. My music is distracting me for a change. Um, um, oh, there's a step I've missed or I've forgotten, which is fine. It's a hard puzzle. I did warn people this was a hard puzzle. I think it's to do with this. I'm pretty certain it's to do with that cell, and I can't remember. Exactly what. Oh. Right. No. I see now. I see what I've forgotten. So this cell, this cage here must contain a 7 or a 9 because if it, and this gives us a virtual 7-9 pair here. So because of that, this can't be a 7. Because if this was a 7, this would be a 9, and this would be 4, 6. And 4, 6, and 2 is not 15, it's 12. So this can't be a 7, which means there's a 7 looking up here, which means this cannot be a 7. Now, um, now that does matter, and I'm trying to remember what the other thing is. Now, this can't be a 9, because if this was a 9, I'd again break this 7, 9 pair. This can't be a 7. This is an 8 or a 9. So now, yeah, this is what matters. So this can't be a 7 because of the 7 looking up. Now, where is 7 in the top row? 7 can't be in those. 7 can't be in those. So this 7 is up here, and this cannot be a 7. And that may not look like much, but that actually matters because now I have to think about the high digits that live on this ring. Because, and I came to this early, because of these cells all seeing each other, I can only put 1, 6, 1, 7, 1, 8, or 9, and 1, 9 on this blue ring. Otherwise, I have to put too many in yellow. Now, I have to put a 6 or a 9 in here, and I have to put a 6 or a 9 there. So if this is 4, 9, that becomes 6. And if this is 6, 7, that becomes 9. Either way, if that was a 6, that would be a 9. This would be 4, 7, 2, and 4, 7, 2 doesn't sum to 15. So that has to be the 4. There's no 4 there. Now that means there's no 4 here, but it also means, and this is quite important, 6 and 9 are taken up in those cells. So this also can't be 6 or 9. Now I have a 3, 5, 7 triple in column 3. So that becomes a 6, that becomes a 5. The 6 looks across, making that the 9. The 9 looks back, making that the 7. The 7 looks back, making that the 5. There's no 5 in those. That becomes 3, 7. The 7 looks down, taking 7 out of there, which means this now can't be 7, 6. It has to be 4, 9. The 5 looks down, making that the 3. There's no 3 here. This is the 5, 7 pair. The 5, 7 looks up, making this 3. This now has to be 6 or 8 for the column, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yes, this is 6 or 8. Now, I haven't locked this in yet, but I am getting closer. As I said, this was hard. 6 looks down, taking 6 out of there. And I fully acknowledge this is a hard puzzle. 7 and 9 are in those cells, so that can't be 7 or 9, because 9 in the column, 7 on the diagonal. The 3, 7 looks back, taking 7 out of there. That was an 8, 9 pair. I could have used the 7 in the box. Ooh, what comes next? Well, I know on this diagonal I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I don't have 6, 7. So these are 6, 8, and 9 and must contain 9. Don't know that that's helping me. What is helping me, though, is that can't be a 4 and that can't be a 4, because the 2, 4 pair on the diagonal. So 4, I can't put 4 on this diagonal and I can't put 4 on this diagonal. So 4 is in one of those 3 cells. So now where is 4 in this row? 4 is not here, 4 is not here, so 4 is in one of those 3. And I remember that mattering, and I can't remember why. I honestly do not remember why. Okay, where is... I need to put a 5 in blue. I can't put 5 in any of those because of that 5. I can't put 5 in any of those because of that 5. These can't be 5 because of the nature of the 15 cage, and those are not 5. That's a 5. So that's a 7. This is now a triple. 1, 2, 3. I've got 4. I've got 5. Oh, it's not a triple. No, I don't want to do that. That's not a triple at all, because I've got 3, 6, 7, and 8. That's too many digits. I can see 3 is in one of those two. I did say this was hard. So hard that I don't even remember how to solve it yet. It'll be an obvious thing, I bet, that I have not seen. I thought these 4s had something to do with it. Oh, 5 is in one of those two. So 5 can't be in those, 5 can't be in those, that's a 2. So 5 is in one of those two. So where's 5 in this box? 5 can't be in those, 5 can't be in those, and I can't repeat 5 in the cage. So that becomes a 5. So there's no 5 up there. Not sure how much that has helped. Um, I think it's something to do with these. So we know this is there is a virtual 6-9 pair in there. So let's try this. That 1-2-4 knocks out that 1-2-4. That 1-2-3 knocks out that 1-2-3. The 5 knocks out the 5. The 8 will knock out an 8. I need to get a 6 in here somewhere. Don't think I can... there was a trick. There was a geometry trick, which Sotek is much better at than I am. Hopefully everyone is screaming at me going, oh my lord, Bremster, you're missing the obvious, because that would be cool. If this is 6, 7, that becomes 9. This becomes 3. Oh, there we go. If this is 6, 7, I need to put a 4 in blue. And I can't put a 4 there. So 4 has to go into this cage. So this becomes 4, 9. Because if this was 6, 7, that would become 9, that would become 3, and the second 4 in blue, because I need a 4 from in here and a 4 in here, would go there, and that would mean that would be a 4, and this would be broken. So this becomes 4, 9. Once this becomes 4, 9, this becomes the 6. Once this becomes 6, this is not 6, and the digits I'm missing from the ring, now I need to put a second 3 in because I've got that one, and this becomes a 3, 7 pair to complete the ring, and now the ring is completely done. So I can turn off the blue there, and I can turn off the yellow here. So we can see I've got 1, 2, 3, 4 ones, 1, 2, 3 twos. I've got my 2 3s, one of them will be in there. I've got my 2 4s, one will be in there. I've got my 1 5, my 1 6, 1 7 will be in there. My 1 8 and 1 9 will be in there. And I've got the makeup of the ring correct now. What I don't have now is any idea of how to finish the puzzle. But that's okay. Now, right, 9 had to be in one of those two for the diagonal. But if I put 9 there, those both become 4, and that breaks the cage. So this is not the 9, this is the 9, which means this is the 4 and this is the 9. Notice since I basically placed this 2, I've ignored the fog completely. Everything was revealed as soon as you place this 2. The fog was just used to find this and then place that 2. So that the cages would get revealed. I wanted to make a hard fog break-in that then just turned into a hard puzzle. I don't know why I seem to make so many controversial puzzles. This 4 takes 4 out of there. Okay. Now there'll just be a bunch of Sudoku I'm missing. Oh, this 6. I know what this triple is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 5, 7, and 9. This is not a 5. So we've got the 5, 7, 9. That 579 makes that the 8, which makes that the 9. I can take 8 out of there. The 9 makes that the 8. In fact, this becomes a 6. The 9 looks down, making that the 6, which makes that the 8, which makes that the 9. The 8 turns around and makes this the 6. And I'm making some more progress. Oh, the 9 here looks up, making that the 7, and I can take 7 out of both of those. This becomes a 5-9 pair. Okay. Oh, this is now a triple. In fact, I used that 8 to make that the 6, which looks across, making that the 8, which I could have used the 6 on the diagonal. This is now a triple because I've got 1, 2, I don't have 3, I've got 4, 5, I don't have 6, 7, 8, 9. So these are 3, 6, 7 and must contain a 6. There's no 7 there. There's no 3 there. Ah, this 6 makes that the 3, which makes that the 7, which makes that the 6, which makes that the 3, which looks down, making that the 1 and that the 3. And now I can run around the corners. The 1 looks up, making that the 4, making that the 2, making that the 1. The 1 looks across, making that the 2 and that the 1. The 1 looks down, making that the 2, which makes that the 4 and that the 1. Okay, more progress. Now I know what these 3 digits are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. There's no 8 there. There's no 5 there. That's the 7. So this becomes a 5-8 pair. I can take the 4 out. So this is a 5-8 pair. And I know what these 2 digits are. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 4, and 9. Giving me a 4-9 pair. This 7 looks down, making that the 3. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. This is an 8. I know what this triple is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. There's no 3 or 7 here. This is the 6, and I can take the 6 out of those. I could have used the 2 6s for that. This is a 3-7 pair. The 3 looks up, taking 3 out of there. So this becomes 4 or 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, this is 4 or 8, but there's an 8 in the box. That's the 4. That's the 8. I take 8 out of there. This is now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 7. This 8 makes this the 5 and this the 8. This 5 takes 5 out of there. What's the triple in this row? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 4, 7, and 9. Well, there's no 4 or 9 there, so that's the 7. The 7 comes out of there. This becomes a 4-9 pair. And this is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. This 6 makes that the 7, which makes this the 6. The 7 looks back, making that the 5 and that the 7. The 5 looks up, making that the 9 and that the 5. The 9 looks down, making that the 4 and that the 9. The 4 makes that the 9 and that the 4, which makes that the 9. This box is just missing a 4. The 7 looks down, making that the 3 and that the 7. The 3 looks up, making that the 4 and that the 3. And this box just needs 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, which cannot be there. So that's the 5. And this becomes the 8, and that is the solution to the puzzle, which has had 93 solves in 10 days. So it's been a bit under a couple of weeks. It just feels like a couple of weeks. It's been a really weird time for me. So that is how the solution to exhausting works. There's a lot of geometry interaction. The reason that this cage got a question mark on it is because the feedback I got from the person who said that this puzzle was ambiguous was that you needed to state I'd originally stated that the cages, I originally stated that digits in cages sum to the number in the top left corner of the cage if given. And it was basically stating that if this cage didn't have if given, the puzzle was unsolvable without guessing, because you needed to know that this cage had to grow in order for you to be able to figure out the shape of these cages to progress. But as you saw, I was able to place this too without using anything about these cages at all by the deduction that was intended. If people want to explore these cages, I think the puzzle is worse by trying to explore these, but whatever. Okay, I think not knowing whether this was an unknown cage total or not, I think it actually meant that people knew that that's not where they were supposed to be exploring. But people provided feedback and I worked with that. This played with 15K 3-cell 15 cages, which I really love, and the maths and or not so much some of the maths, but I thought the geometry on this puzzle was very, very good. Finding the one, I was very, very happy with, but being able to place that two by this being a 6, 7, 8, 9 quadruple, otherwise you can't get enough 6, 7, 8, 9s on the diagonals because of the way that putting a 6, 7, 8, 9 into these forced it into those. And the fact that you notice I didn't even need to make these 6, 7, 8, 9 because I could hide that 7 there and actually have two sevens off. But putting a 7 here was absolutely going to force one because of the Fist of Mefel into those anyway. So that had to be a 6, 7, 8, 9 quadruple. Absolutely. When I first saw that that was a thing working with Sotek, blew my mind, and we had to make a puzzle around it. Um, I hope you enjoyed this puzzle. I hope you enjoy the video. If you get stuck, I hope my explanation comes through. I would have loved to have sent this through to CTC. Maybe Sotek will, using this video as the solve guide or something. I don't know. But I just, yeah, after them turning around and saying any puzzle that's not sort of mid 90s or higher, and after this puzzle literally dropping from, it was 98% and then it dropped to sort of 94, as there's a couple of people who always vote puzzles down, so it dropped to 94, which is okay. And then after that comment, and it literally plummeted to 82 with very, very quickly, with only a couple of extra solves. So a lot of people changed their votes. I think it was actually with no extra solves. So people changing their votes based on that comment, which then got deleted. I took a screenshot of it, but it was just unpleasant, and really, yeah. If you see a puzzle that you think is broken, check with the setter before you publicly attack the puzzle. I mean, about a week ago, I posted a video where I thought the puzzle was broken, and it was literally a case of the rules weren't clear, and apparently the setter had corrected it in one version of the puzzle but not the other. So it had been corrected in Sudoku Pad version but not corrected in the F Puzzles version, and the version that was sent through to me was the F Puzzles version. I didn't have the other link to know that it had been corrected. And that's on me. Like I ended up doing some investigation and looking into things and trying to find out what was going on. But that wasn't the setter making a mistake, but literally turning around on a place like Logic Masters Germany and saying that a puzzle requires guesswork. Um, yeah, for a puzzle that, yeah, it tanked the puzzle, and it's a shame because we put a lot of work into it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'm sorry that I'm rambling, but yeah, it's what it is. Thank you, everyone, and I will say good luck with your solving. And if you set a puzzle, then I hope you have better luck than I did. So good luck with your setting.